Imagine Dragons are one of the most polarizing bands of the last decade. On one hand, they're massively successful with the long list of chart records under their belt, and on the other hand, they became the punching bag for some of rock's most outspoken artists.
So she wanted to know, she heard that you guys had a ton of material that did not make it to Sacred Hearts Club. So what happens to that material?
We give it to Imagine Dragons.
When you ask people why they hate the band, you'll usually see a whole list of different answers, from straight up overexposure,
you can go anywhere,
to them being a fake rock band, to their music being basic with cheesy lyrics, or just the fact that it's cool and edgy to hate what's popular. Or maybe this Reddit user that has been nuked off the internet had it right all along. I swear that these guys aren't a real band. They're all partners in an advertising firm trying to corner the market on movie trailer and commercial music. And there's a ton of truth to this. The song Believer, which was released in February 2017, appeared in 32 different advertising campaigns by November of the same year. As a lifelong musician and music fan myself, there are definitely reasons not to like Imagine Dragons. Their music feels like it was written for people who aren't really into music. But who cares what myself or other music elitists think? The band's sales speak for themselves. Imagine Dragons are objectively one of the most successful bands of the last 10 years. The band's first studio record debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 in 2012. Radioactive, the second single off the album and the song that boosted them to fame, was the most streamed song on Spotify in 2013. The song holds the third place record for the most weeks on the Billboard 100 of all time and is the best-selling rock song in US digital history. 5 years later, the band went on to be the most streamed group of 2018 on Spotify and the first rock band to have 4 songs surpass 1 billion streams each in 2019. At the time of making this video, they're still number 27 on the list of most streamed artists in the world on Spotify. So let's be honest, not everyone hates Imagine Dragons, but man, do they have some dedicated haters. My wife becomes physically angry every time someone even mentions the band's name, and this feeling is not only shared by the general public, but also by some of your favorite bands.
They're like the scapegoat of rock and roll.
They really are. However, they are passing the baton to Imagine Dragons right now, and I love it. Yeah, they're like, people are slowly coming back to appreciate Nickelback, and then just turning their was it irksome ire towards Imagine Dragons.
From everything I know about the band, they haven't really even done a single thing that could be deemed hate-worthy, making it even more perplexing. No drop-kicking fans off stage, unhinged rants on TV, or even general douchebaggery. The record seems clean. The band is clearly very talented, with both Wayne Sermon and Ben McKee being Berklee School of Music grads. On top of this, the band is very philanthropic and has pushed for LGBTQ rights, particularly within the Mormon communities they grew up in. So why exactly is Imagine Dragons hated by so many people? That's what I'm going to try to answer for you in this video. The band seems like they have to be industry plants based on their massive early success and generic feel, but they actually garnered their breakthrough completely on their own.
Imagine Dragons is an indie rock band hailing from Las Vegas. In the few short months since they formed, they've already won both the BYU and the Club Velour Battle of the Bands.
The band was formed back in 2008 by singer Dan Reynolds and drummer Andrew Tolman, who met at Brigham Young University. The group went through some early lineup changes, with the band eventually settling on the current 3 core band members: Dan Reynolds on vocals, Wayne Sermon on guitar, and Ben McKee on bass, the following year in 2009. The band relocated from Provo, Utah to Dan's hometown of Las Vegas around the same time. The band released 3 EPs between 2009 and 2011, getting their music out there on platforms like MySpace and YouTube, performing at South by Southwest and other small festivals, and as a supporting act alongside the Parltones and Nico Vega for some tours in the Western US. The band started to really pick up a following in Vegas.
They are an up-and-coming local band that's certainly making noise. In fact, they're right here to play in studio. Here's Imagine Dragons with their new song, All Eyes. Take it away, guys.
receiving numerous local awards, and the title track of their third EP, It's Time, became the #1 requested song on local radio station Mix 94.1. The band signed to Interscope Records in 2011 and released their debut album Night Visions the following year, and really everything else from there is history. The band truly did pave their way and earn their accolades on their own, so where exactly does the hate come from? I present to you Exhibit 1, Thunder. Out of sheer curiosity, I looked up how many times the word thunder appears in this song, and the number is 78. Out of 221, or just a little bit over 1/3 of every word in the song. To make things even worse, the song does a bunch of stutter lyrics. Think Benny and the Jets, bringing the total number of times that the word thunder is at least partially said up to 98. The song is probably the most meme-worthy in the catalog for obvious reasons. It's catchy at the expense of any real lyrical substance. It feels like music created by record executives to print money while being devoid of the passion and emotion that made rock music successful in the first place. It's another reminder that rock music, at least in the mainstream, is dead and exists as sort of a shell of the alternative music that dominated the 90s. Following the release of the single, the band started to see a lot of public discourse from publications and fellow artists alike. In a 2019 interview, Slipknot frontman Corey Taylor echoed the Nickelback comparisons, claiming that Nickelback were passing the baton of being rock and roll's scapegoat to Imagine Dragons. Matt Healy of the 1975 described Radioactive as nothingness, stating it might as well be called Pikachu Banana.
And you see that guy from like Imagine Dragons? He went online quite recently and he was kind of like, everybody's like slagging off my band. Everyone's like saying that like not good enough or whatever. And he was like, Billy Corgan said it and Matty from the 1975 said it. I was like, yeah, bro, like, I didn't say that.
And in a 2018 interview, Mark Foster of Foster the People joked that his band give their rejected material to Imagine Dragons. Yikes. But hey, former Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin found time to show his support for the band's Super Bowl halftime performance in between advocating for infecting children with chickenpox and blaming mass shootings on zombie TV shows. Humans seem to have a shared experience that hearing a song they once loved too many times can ruin the magic of it or make them even hate it, and there's even science behind this phenomenon. After hearing a song so many times, our brain becomes wired to anticipate what's coming next, and the simpler a song is, the worse this phenomenon can become. Modern pop music is no stranger to simplicity, so it definitely suffers from this issue. It's no surprise that people started to dislike Imagine Dragons. They were on repeat on radio, advertisements, and movie trailers for years. Back in summer 2017, when this article was published, 11 different movie trailers featured an Imagine Dragons song over a couple-year period. I'm sure this number's more than doubled since then. The band also had a song appear in the soundtrack of 142 different movies and shows according to their IMDb page, making them comparable to someone like Justin Bieber. The number of advertisements featuring an Imagine Dragons song is almost comical. Companies run advertisements for a reason. They work. Regardless if a Ford commercial convinces you to go buy a car in the moment, it can build brand awareness, appeal to emotions like joy and excitement, and associate the brand with activities you love, like camping, for example. The strength of video advertisements is that they can appeal to both visual and auditory senses. It's also not really a surprise that brand recognition is also strengthened the more times you view an advertisement. An article published by Variety back in 2017 shows that the song Believer had more than 32 advertising campaigns at the time of the article, and the song Thunder had 17 syncs in 2017 alone. It'd be hard to sit through a single commercial break in 2017 and not hear an Imagine Dragons song. Everyone hates commercials. It's something we all can share in common as a species. If commercials can live in our subconscious and make us associate brands with certain emotions, then it also seems really likely that people can associate the band Imagine Dragons with commercials or something that's wasting their time and keeping them from doing something they really want to be doing. Let's be honest, while Imagine Dragons is typically referred to as a rock band, calling them this is kind of questionable at best. Sure, they've got your typical rock band lineup consisting of 2 guitars, a bass, and drums, and they occasionally use distortion, but these aren't really defining features of the genre. No one's out here calling 2010's Maroon 5 a rock band. Not only is their sound not very reminiscent of rock, neither is their identity. Imagine Dragons, like many of the quote-unquote rock bands of the past 20 years, have blended several genres together: rock, pop, folk, dubstep, and EDM, all tied together to make these very big sounding tracks. They write songs that sound like they're meant to be played in arenas. But by blending all these styles of music together, the result often feels genreless and not like rock, which incorporates cool things from other genres. Shout out to bands like Linkin Park. Let's take the chorus of Radioactive, arguably their most popular song ever written, as an example. Hit Songs Deconstructed did an incredible breakdown of this song. We can see that the chorus features 3 synths, electric guitars, electric drums, and electric bass. Nothing too crazy, but what we see is that these synths are kind of the loud up front part of the mix, while the guitars and the bass are lower, and the drums aren't even real. Watch any Imagine Dragons song live, you'll see the guitarist spending more time dancing than playing guitar, and when we finally do get a guitar, it's something simple like this. And to be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with drawing inspiration from other genres. That's how we get cool new sounds. Nu metal is a great example of this, combining metal and hip-hop. Bring Me the Horizon is also a really good example of similar genre mashing to Imagine Dragons, but they seem to maintain more of an identity and edge. Going along with the genreless theme, the band's image, songs, and lyrics all feel like they're written for everyone while also being written for no one. A lot of their songs have themes that apply to everyone on the planet and lyrics that feel like they could be written by AI. Take one of their biggest songs, Believer. According to Dan himself, quote, "The meaning of these songs is really reflecting on specific things in my life that were painful, whether it was anxiety and dealing with crowds, feeling overwhelmed by that, or the success of the band, disease, going through depression, anything that was a source of pain in my life, and just rising above that, finding a place, a perspective where I could be appreciative of the pain in my life and make it my greatest strength," unquote. Or Thunder, which we talked about earlier. According to Genius, Thunder is about not conforming to society's standards. Dan sings about being told what to do as a child and that he can't follow his dreams. In the second verse, he says that he overcame everyone that told him what to do and achieved his dreams of being on stage. In my opinion, these themes and lack of any real specific events in the lyrics make them feel generic and lacking in emotion. This meme perfectly describes an Imagine Dragons song. Also, shout out to this commenter for boiling down a 15-minute video into 2 sentences. I want to wrap this video up with something that has less to do with the band Imagine Dragons themselves and more to do with the state of the music industry as a whole. The band represents a larger stray away from the popularity of mainstream rock and the domination of rock charts by bands that are lacking the grit of prior generations. The mainstream popularity of rock music, as evidenced by the composition of the Billboard Hot 100, peaked in the 1980s and has been slowly declining since, largely with the rise in popularity of hip-hop and R&B. Even then, the 1990s and 2000s had some amazing mainstream rock music with grunge, alternative, nu metal, indie rock, emo, and pop punk all having their spotlight. The year before Imagine Dragons broke onto the scene, we had the Lumineers release Hey Ho, and Mumford & Sons boast the #1 rock album for the second year in a row. It was around this time we saw other bands with similar mainstream appeal and safe songs like Bastille, Vance Joy, and Ex-Ambassadors gain popularity and start to take over alternative radio. In a lot of ways, I think Imagine Dragons and the other bands right around their time feel like a signal of the death of what I will call guitar rock, which was largely abandoned for heavily pop-inspired and EDM-heavy quote-unquote rock songs. At least that's how it feels for me. Zine to Screen is a new channel and your support means so much to me. If you like the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content like this. I'll see you all soon for the next one. Peace.